Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast, the number one show to bring you all things Club America and English.
Oh, what a strike! Club America!
Your hosts for today are Ivan Pineda, Cristian Rosendo, Alexis Juarez, and everyone's favorite cowboy, Dylan Jimenez. Goal! Now let's hit the field and start the show.
America!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Eagle Eye Podcast. Today, we're going to be recapping everything that happened in the FC Juarez game. And then, of course, we're going to be kind of putting all together the end of the season for America. We're kind of going to give it a grade to the regular season. Of course, we still have Liguilla to talk about. We'll get you guys up to date with potential Liguilla opponents and a couple of more things in and along the way for today's episode. I'm your host, Ivan, and joining me today, as always, it is none other than my beloved co-host, my basically SoCal neighbor. It is none other than Chris Rivera. Chris, how are you, my friend?
Good, man. Good. Kind of weird weather we're having. It rained in the morning. Now it's really hot. But other than that, man, we're having a great day.
Absolutely. And you know what I've noticed is that we always somehow first talk about the weather here in Southern California. And anyone listening to like maybe somewhere in like in the East Coast is probably like, why do they always start with the weather? Like,
I think it's because we probably relate to the weirdness of California weather. So it's like we live in different counties, but it's pretty much the same thing. Other than like it probably snows where you're at, right? Like your area.
yeah, I got some snow here whenever it was dramatic.
Yeah.
So well, I was in the Moreno Valley area. Now I'm kind of in the Rialto area, but kind of, a little bit more harsher winters up here in Rialto than in Moreno Valley, but still, it's kind of neck and neck. I mean, the weather all around it. When it's hot, and when it's cold all around.
Yeah, so that's why we talk about the weather. We start off with the weather before we get to sports, just like the news.
Absolutely. It's just, well, I guess it's the way that we kind of get ourselves ready for the episode. And well, I guess enough about the weather update here in Southern California. Let's talk a little bit about America before we get to the nitty gritty of it all. I guess we have to talk about the Malagon show, right?
Yep. I mean, he showed his presence. Perfect timing, right? Right when the Liguilla is starting. A lot of question marks, I guess, for a lot of people. A lot of people being confident, but at the same time feeling like what if he has a disaster class, right? A very bad game in the near future. And well, I think he gave us a lot of comfort going into this Liguilla.
Definitely. I mean, two takeaways from this game. One, obviously, Malagon looks like he is ready for the Liguilla and potentially ready to take this, starting goalkeeper position by the scruff of the neck and just claim it for his own for a long, long time to come. And two, probably one of the most boring games we've seen this season for America.
Yeah, it was a very boring game. Very our expectation was something like this, right? But you still felt like we both gave our predictions. We still felt we were gonna score, and sadly, we only got one in.
Yeah, I knew I was a little bit, I guess, crazy to think that we were going to be able to win 3-0 with that prediction of mine. But we kind of predicted it correctly. We expected it to be a tight, ugly game for America, and we expected us to suffer. And it looks like everything that we kind of said actually came to fruition. We definitely did not have a good game. And it's like I told you, Chris, I feared that if America went out playing the way that they intended to play, which was give everything to Henry, look for Henry, and potentially, have Henry be at the center of it all, we weren't going to get goals. We weren't going to have a good game. And I think it kind of showcased that this was probably one of the worst games that America has played.
After the whole switching goalkeepers, definitely, man. Back in the beginning of the season, you kind of just had that scapegoat, right? Saying, oh, it's because of Oscar Jimenez. And most of the time, even though some people don't agree, it was really the reality of Oscar Jimenez blowing the leads for us, right? In this game, it just felt like an ugly game. You saw it, we always talk about the pitch when it comes to these games, right? And you saw all these players slipping and and falling and just not being able to get a grip of the field, and I think that was mainly the issue. But luckily for us, we had a goalkeeper that completely showed out and was able to keep zero, which I'm sure I could speak for you that that's the most important thing, right? Being able to win, even if it's by one, as long as there's no goals on that we receive.
Absolutely, and I think that's something that I've kind of been asking for in regards to this team is a clean sheet, right?
Yeah,
We were doing drastically. I mean, I'm trying to look at the stats here, and hold on, let me pull it up real quickly. When's the last time we had a clean sheet, ladies and gentlemen? Well, I'll tell you exactly.
Mazatlan, I think.
No, it was Tigres, March
Oh
11th,
yeah, yeah,
March
yeah. Tigres.
plus two. I mean, it took you a whole 2 months, all of the rest of March, all of April, like practically 2 months to get another clean sheet, and eh, you did it in an ugly way. And yes, your goalkeeper came out, and I think he was man of the match by a mile. Um, Obviously Richard, with his great goal too. But I mean, Malagon, FootMob has him at 8.6, six saves in total, five diving, three inside the box. I mean, I wasn't able to see this game live. Obviously, I was at the Raul Alejandro concert. I was trying my best. Signal was just terrible. Um, I was trying to see it. It was on ESPN, so I don't know if that mattered at all. But I was trying my best. I was like, okay, come on, load, just load, just load. And I'd get like maybe 15 seconds and then it would freeze, and then another 15 seconds and freeze. I'm like this. I'm not getting anywhere.
I feel like arenas do that on purpose. I don't know
They
if
do.
right,
It's because they
like
don't want they're just jealous that America's gonna take all the ratings.
I mean, ESPN needed the ratings, I guess, and ESPN and Fox Deportes or wherever all those channels that we said they were going to be on. And I
Yeah,
think they only
we,
played in
we had said
ESPN.
we had said to the end. And someone had said Fox Sports too.
Yeah,
We were over here, obviously ESPN, Deportes, and um, we were here just giving all this false information just for it to be on ESPN Deportes. So
yeah. I was all looking for it like on through that, and then like no, and then the commentary in ESPN was just awful. If I'm being honest, it was
I think
really
it always is, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. Like I know people always have these debates like, oh, this commentator like is bad and this and that, and like ESPN was just like if the game was boring, they made sure they were boring as well. Like it was really bad in my opinion.
Absolutely, and I think it's games like this that a real true commentator should shine.
Yeah, I don't understand why they don't like try to sign these veterans that leave other places. Right? Maybe they're just being cheap, but it was really bad in my opinion. And I feel other people would agree too. And it does make a difference, what you're watching and the excitement. Because imagine if we had better commentators for the Malagon saves.
No, absolutely. People would be jumping out of their seats alongside with the commentators, but I mean, we'll see. Carlos Diaz saying it was on Fox Sports Plus, but in Mexico. So
Yeah,
I think we got two right. Either way, I hope you guys were able to enjoy that Malagon performance. I think we put it perfectly. He needed to step up and have a big game alongside the other big games he had, but this one kind of cemented it, right? Ugly, ugly victory for America, one that you kind of give thanks to your goalkeeper and at the same time give thanks to Richard for putting in the ball in the back of the net, because if it
yeah,
wasn't for his goal we wouldn't be in the situation. I know a lot of people didn't really like Brian performance. I know I was really advocating for him,
yeah.
and it wasn't really a good showcase by him. And then maybe the person that just joined right now and can talk to me a little bit about why it is that Brian Rodriguez struggled so much in this game. Christian,
What's up, guys?
Oh,
what
damn!
is
I
going
wasn't
on?
expecting you,
What is
brother.
going on, Christian?
Nothing much. What are we talking about here?
We just getting started, brother. We're talking about Brian Rodriguez and why he
Oh,
didn't
that brother
perform.
stinks. Oh man. How are you, Ivan? How's everything?
Great, absolutely great. On high alert because we're past to the point where it's almost time for us to be due with the baby. So
Oh wow, yeah, you're right.
absolutely getting
Hmm.
ready for that. But we're ecstatic, right? Because of the way that America finished the season, being able to secure second spot. Not
Right.
so happy with the result and how it gave. So that's kind of what we're on about right now. We're talking
Okay.
America. We're talking the Malagon show. We're talking about the
I'm
fact
gonna go.
that it was a boring game, but the importance of your goalkeeper having a game like this and securing that second position.
No, yeah, of course. I just think that we play a little reserved in the Juarez game, knowing that not having any injuries is probably the key into going into this game. We don't want to have too many injuries going into the Liguilla, right? Even though we do have a week off, but you never know with these things. So but like you guys said though, I really wish that we could have showed a little bit more in this game. I think that Juarez gave us the opportunity to really open up the score. Maybe a 2-0 or 3-0 was definitely possible. But in some cases, like you guys were mentioning, Malagon had to come up huge, and I think this is one of those games where you really start to believe that this guy could be your number one heading into next year, and even potentially for a couple more seasons down the road.
Absolutely, and I think I mentioned the importance of having a goalkeeper uh, that wins you 3 points, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
we mentioned it a lot of times, and I mentioned it with Ochoa. He won you games, right? He kept you in games, and he won you games. With Oscar Jimenez, well, the best he was able to get you sometimes was just a draw. So I think
Right.
that's kind of the difference, right? The level is day and night, and it's ridiculous to think how we kept them on the bench for so long.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Yeah.
but like you guys were mentioning though, I think at the start of the season, it's just Oscar has been with us for for many years, right? So people felt like, oh, just because of that reason alone, and his good performances when he was playing, right, the 1 or 2 games a year that he did play, he did them well, and then the friendlies. So that's why people thought, okay, you know what? Then there's no reason to give Malagon the chance to be the starter. It's Oscar number one, and if he messes up, then we give him a shot. But I think there were some people in this chat that were against Oscar being number one because of his time in America being kind of, I guess, like the sole reason as to why he was the number one off the bat.
I think me and Ivan were very vocal of just not
Right.
being a fan
Mm-hmm.
of his. I for me, I just didn't like the fact that we had to beg him. Right, he was going to Cholos, and we begged him to stay. And for me, just like okay, during the time with Marchesin, okay, cool, I understand Marchesin, but we went and brought in Ochoa for a reason because they didn't trust this guy. For
Right.
me, it felt more. It didn't feel like it was a coaching decision. It felt more like the directivos were saying we're not gonna bring
Mm-hmm.
in someone else, or we for starters we can't bring in a foreigner, right? I'm sure Marchesin was probably the ideal guy to bring in, and
Right.
then
Right.
Acevedo was too expensive. So for them it was just like our options are very low because there's not many great keepers that are Mexicans that we could get, and then we can't bring in a foreigner. So we're just gonna go with you because it's just And for me it was just like go and get Malagon. For me, it was always Malagon. For me, it was just like go get the guy that has the upside, right? Because we
Mm-hmm.
know that he's young and he's shown that yes, he's playing in Necaxa, but he's shown that hey, like I'm the future, right? Like I'm the future for either for now or like for this process or for the next. And for me, it's just like you had to go, even through the end said it like Oscar Jimenez in the beginning that Oscar Jimenez should start, but who do you want for the national team? You want Malagon. So for me, it's like, well, if you want this guy for the national team, then you should probably look at him as a starter too.
Right. Mm-hmm. No, yeah, 100%.
Interesting indeed. And well, I guess, hands off to Malagon having himself some pretty good stretch of games. I think, we'll hopefully see the best of him to come in an America jersey. Hopefully not just this league yet, but many, many more seasons to come. And then, well, I mean, I just kind of want to get you guys' overall sense of how the regular season ended for America, right? So I'll read the numbers off here. Out of 17 games, America won 9, drew 7, lost only 1. Only team in the league to do that. Everyone else lost 3 or more. I mean, yeah, 3 or more. So America, the only team to only lose 1 game. I think the first thing that highlights there is probably way too many draws that we should have not accumulated,
Yeah,
right?
and some of those draws felt like losses, to be honest with you.
The Atlas game, the
The
Querétaro
Leon
game,
game,
Leon game.
the Pumas game.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So I think the way I judge this season is two halves, right? The Oscar Jimenez half and the Malagon half, because I think the defense is what ends up looking different, right? Like you could even argue once they switched the fullbacks. I think we see Fuentes being more reliable than Chava Reyes was, right?
Correct.
And with Layun, well, it's a 50-50 because I think Layun is very he could be very solid at times. I think we get very frustrated offensively, but defensively sometimes he's just like, okay, you're not amazing, but at least you're there to cover what could potentially be a goal. While
Right.
with Lara, you're just like, okay, you're not a fullback, you're not a right back. Like we need to get you into that center back position, and I'm sure they're gonna do that next season. But I think it's just too you have to judge it from a half, one half and two halves, and I think the second half was more impressive than what the first half was. And we had a second half in the beginning that was just like the first half was more like the second half. I think we win a lot of those games, which
Right.
is funny because it's like the harder part was the second half.
But I think
Absolutely.
that's okay though. Sorry to cut you off, Ivan, but I just want to add on to Chris's points about the defense. You also see, I think Israel Reyes kind of grow into his position, grow into the
Yeah,
team, get a little more comfortable with the America jersey. Because at the start, there were heavy criticism, and rightfully so, because he wasn't really playing to his potential and what brought him to America, right? The marking wasn't there, the clearance wasn't there, just the defensive IQ wasn't there. As you started developing the partnership with Cáceres, started really being a little more reliable on your goalkeeper. You saw him being a little bit more solid. And as the team grows, I think that'll just help us more in the gear. I think it's almost a good thing that we didn't peak, so to say, in the first half, only
yeah.
because maybe you're bound to dizzle off, right? It just happens. That's natural. It happens with any team. You start to die down, right? And I don't want that phase to happen when we're in like the first leg of the semis, right? Or in like the first half of the second leg where this whole team is just like done for the season. So hopefully this trajectory keeps going up and it carries us to the championship.
Absolutely, and I kind of want to talk about what Chris is saying, right? The season kind of has to be divided into two, right? One with Oscar, one with Malagon. So with
Mhm.
Oscar, we played a total of 10 games, right? 10 games. In those 10 games, we lost one, and we drew one, two, three, four, five. One, two, three, four. Yep, 5 games we drew, lost one, which means we won a total of 4 games
Mhm.
under Oscar Jimenez,
And what
right?
about Malagon's numbers?
With Malagon, he plays 7 games, right? Won a
Okay.
total of one, two, three, four, five, and drew only two,
And no
undefeated.
losses. Yeah.
And no loss.
I mean, and you're talking about games that potentially should have been winners, right? You're talking about the America versus Leon, maybe the America versus Pumas too should have been
Atlas.
a
And it was
different
a
one. The
harder
Atlas one would have
schedule
been
too
a
for
point
Malagon,
for.
no?
Yeah.
Because
No,
we had
it was a
Chivas, we had Tigres, we had
rigorous one.
Monterrey,
And
we had
arguably
Leon.
Malagon probably wins us or ties us that game against Pachuca, right? Arguably. You could
Probably, yeah,
argue,
because we were playing amazing.
yeah, we were playing good and two of those goals were on Oscar. So you would assume, right? It's hard to really say,
Yeah,
but
no,
those mistakes don't happen with
I still think we
Malagon.
lose that game, honestly. Even though we did have a good start and it seemed like we were the better team for, I guess, most of the first half, even though the scoreline is completely different,
Yeah.
right? I just didn't see the fight and the urge in the second half. And I know you're down to nothing. I know everything changes when you're down that much, but you still got to show that cut the lead down 3-1, 3-2, make it more respectable. And this team didn't do it. So I don't think in that game per se,
I think it's
if we had a
possible.
goalkeeper change, I don't think it would make that much because even it some of the goals that they scored were just defensive errors. Like they were just walking through our defense at that point.
Well,
No.
here's my argument for because I hear you. I get it. It's hard to really like predict what would happen, right? But we started off that game. That first half was us, right?
Mhm.
And I'm confident in our offense. You also take it into consideration, like the fans were booing the hell out of Layun and Oscar anytime they touch the ball, you know. So for me, it's like maybe that momentum dies off because it's like the fans are against us, you know. So for me, it's like
Gotta fight
let's
back.
say let's take away two of those goals. It's one goal, right? Which who was the one that made that mistake? It was Reyes or Cáceres. It wasn't Araujo, right? He didn't start that game.
I honestly don't remember.
Well, it was one of the center backs that he spit
Mhm.
it back out, and I think Trophies is the one that scored it, right? So it's one
It was
zero.
Araujo.
Okay, so it's 1-0, right? I think it's doable that we'll get a tie in that game, I don't think they score on us more because you see them. They after those defensive mistakes, they don't really do much either. So I think it's arguable that if you put Malagon, maybe it's a 1-0 loss. Maybe we end up scoring more. But I do think that game personally, I do blame Oscar Jimenez completely.
I think you
And,
got to put
and
50-50. Actually, maybe
guess who was the
60-40 because the
player?
defense was abysmal. Like,
Yeah,
I thoroughly remembered all three goals that the defense was just not there, and they were cones. All of
yeah,
them.
but so was Oscar, right? And the thing about
True,
Malagon
true.
is that he's been able to save us from those moments. So that's why I'm
That's
saying
true.
like it's arguable that we get a tie in that game or we win that game or we lose it 1-0, but it won't be as ugly as it was
But so
or
so
ended up
now so
being.
now, but your point now in the defense and in the defense and the offense that you trust them, they should have responded, but they
Well, that's
didn't.
for me. It was more of the atmosphere. It's kind of harder. Like,
Got to fight through that,
yeah, I get
especially in
it.
the second half when you've got to reset. Get
Yeah.
a goal in the first 15. That was
Well,
3-1.
remember, it's also I guess there's a lot of blame to go. It was also because of uh Thanos subs. Remember, Aquino comes in to
Aquino
defend,
comes
and
in the
and,
60th
and it
minute.
becomes worse.
No,
It
yeah, I get
becomes
it,
worse.
but I mean,
So yeah, you're
but
right. I
but
mean,
that happens in the 60th, and you could have gotten a goal
yeah,
between that and between the start and then when that happens.
yeah. I mean,
Just it
I
just
guess
was just wasn't.
One
It
it's
point
just
just
is,
harder.
yeah,
personally for me, just it wasn't a good game for us, and I think we still would have lost it no matter what. Honestly,
Okay.
regardless, things are as they are, right? And just to shout out, the best player that rating wise, at least for the America versus Pachuca game, was Fidalgo. So take that with a grain of salt.
In case
you take
someone's
that, Brian.
listening.
Absolutely. But no, look, gentlemen, regardless, we can talk about these games in full detail and be here for until 2 o'clock in the morning
I'm down.
discussing what went wrong in some of these games. But overall, give me your guys' overall grade for America's regular season, this Clausura 2023.
I give him a B.
A B?
Mm-hmm.
Chris?
I think so. Like I said, I have to put it two sides, right? So the first part, I give it a C, and then the second one, I give it a B.
So B minus.
Oh, if you put them together, yeah, I would assume.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was
B
gonna,
minus.
I wanted to be very heavy critical in this one and say C plus, just because all the draws.
All the
Yeah,
draws, yes, but there are a lot of positives here, like beating Monterrey. That's something that
Tigres.
I think that we need to highlight. Even though we're not trying to make it as big as it seems, but they were number one. They did look unbeatable.
Yeah,
So I'll give a point for that. We didn't lose a Clásico this year again. So I gotta give points for
Yeah.
that.
Well, the
We
classical
beat
thing's
Tigres
already looked.
again.
Yeah.
Gotta give points for that.
solid.
But that's where my grade starts to die down now. You're drawing 0-0 to Querétaro. Don't ask me how you do that. You're drawing to Atlas when that game was won already.
Yeah.
Maybe the Santos game will give it to you because we always draw to Santos for some reason. You drew against Puebla at home. That should have never happened.
The
And then
Querétaro game.
obviously the 3-0, right? So I think B minus is fair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
B
I
minus.
think B minus is an accurate kind of depiction of this team. Now, with all of that said,
My man Carlos said A.
I guess if you're okay with the
solid
ties,
A.
right? If
Okay,
you're
Okay,
okay,
wait,
if you're
wait,
okay with the ties.
wait, Carlos. If you can just give a brief explanation and then we can talk about it. I think that'd be
If you're okay with the ties, right, and you don't really look at the context of how the games went, it's because it depends, right? If you like what you saw on offense, I think you're more happy with what, right? It's kind of like, oh, we're going to Liguilla, we're good in the table, and if we tie, we pass, right? Because I guess it's perspective. Me personally, I'm not as confident as most when it comes to the defense, if I'm being honest with you. But I am, I guess, okay with the fact that our offense could pretty much click whenever, even in an ugly game. For me, it's just a B minus. Like I said, it's two different seasons. It felt like.
Are you more confident now in the defense than what you were, like let's say earlier in the season?
Yeah, yeah. I think as long as we don't see Araujo out there, I think
Mhm.
I think Cáceres is one of those players where you're okay with, and then sometimes it just like out of nowhere it just becomes ugly. But
Yeah,
I think this time it feels a little bit different, you know.
at least we're hoping.
Yeah, yeah. And then Israel Reyes, I'm high on him. I think he does need a veteran partnership. I think someone like an extranjero that's more in his prime to help him out. But I mean, and then the fullbacks just look completely different. Chava Reyes looked like he was getting dragged a lot, and then
Yeah, and I mean,
Lara just
mhm,
gives up the worst marking ever. And
right.
I know people get on here and say, "Oh, you trash on him too much." I like Lara. Like I just don't like him as a right back because
Yeah,
you
let's try
see,
him back at center back, right? But interesting point you made about the fullbacks though, and I like that Tano at least tried it with Chavarrias, right? Because then you never wanna say, oh, with this team, what if Chavarrias was in. We've tried it. We tried it for 8 9 games, and it just wasn't working, right? So that's why you had to resort back to kind of your more safer choice and Luis Fuentes, and that's I think that a position both left and right that you're really gonna have to look up this offseason because we got a lot of games coming, and we overall we just need improvements on those on those fronts.
All right. Well, now that you've brought him up to say this, Christian,
Mhm.
that's Carlos's Diaz explanation. If you want to read it off.
Okay, let's see. We rode the wave of the season well. Tempest has my point previously made. Having a solid goalkeeper helped was lots of injuries, and I was happy to see many players step up. Alex, Richard, even Leo kind of big time moments, and yes, Leo stepping up. Talks big about the caliber of our squad and doing those on the bench. Yeah, I mean, yes, you're right. I do think that players took important steps. Sendejas, which Chris, I think you're very proud of Sendejas this season. Richard Sanchez, of course, and Leo Suarez when he needed to play and step up, he did. You can definitely put that into the grade. But I think like what us three are saying is, those draws, half of them should have never been draws. And to put ourselves in those positions, if you do that in the Liguilla, we're gonna get knocked out again. So it's like those things can't happen when especially at home. And I think we were up in the Leon game at home, right? We tied to Pumas at home. We tied to Puebla at home. Like we tied to Querétaro at home. Like those things can't happen. Like those things we need to, and especially if you're up and you're closing into the game, you gotta close them out. I don't know what you guys think.
I agree that there's a lot of sense to what you're saying, and I think that there's an argument to be said with what Carlos is also saying.
Mhm.
So I think it's kind of up there in the sense of okay, I think everyone has to find their own medium with this one, right? There's a lot of takeaways from this, right? A lot of negatives that we have focused on, but a lot of positives that maybe we haven't talked enough about, and maybe Carlos Diaz is kind of shedding the light into a little bit more of a positive view to this squad that maybe some of us don't share as much because I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I think we're very much pessimist in this podcast. I don't know if if that's a proper way of describing ourselves on this. I think we kind of uh, dig a little bit too deep on the negatives, but
We
I mean there
might,
is
yeah,
plenty of
but
stuff to. But I think that's the way of sometimes an Americanista is, right. It's you're never really content, right? You always want more.
true.
I think it's trauma from the past seasons too, where we saw that we did really good, and then like Liguilla starts and you see like the players that we said, oh, they're doing good, and then they make a mistake, and you're just like, bro,
Exactly.
like why are you still on the in the club? Like, I don't care what you did in the regular season. If you're in
Hmm.
crucial times, you can't perform, you know. But I think overall, I think it does feel different, right? I think going into this league, yeah, it feels a little bit different. I do think we have to be more disciplined when it comes to losing the ball and stuff like that. But I think we're, I feel a final coming for us personally. I know that we don't want to jinx anything, you know, or we're not really looking that far ahead, but that's just the feeling compared to other seasons where we've gone that far. We're just like, okay, this team feels different. You see the unity, you see everything, right? You see everyone just happy for each other, like regardless of what role they have, and I think that's
Right.
a positive thing, you know.
Mhm.
No, absolutely. And funny enough that you say that because I was gonna mention to you guys like, can this be the one? Can this be our year? Can this be the season to not just go all the way to a final, but crown ourselves? Because I don't know, and I know what I'm about to say is a stretch, and I know that a lot of people are gonna say that I'm crazy for what I'm about to say, but does this not kind of give you 2005 vibes?
from a results perspective, it does, and also from the players you have around, right? The offense. Obviously, we're not gonna compare them individually, right? Because the league's different and everything's
No,
different.
yeah, of course.
But it does feel like I remember when I asked you a while back, like who's the best defenders that Ochoa has ever had, and we both said, oh, Rojas and Davino, and then we kind of laughed. We're like, oh, well, they weren't all that, but we ended up winning a league with that, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the feeling you get with Cáceres and Israel Reyes. Like, are they all that? Not really. I think you could easily upgrade, right? But at the same time, it's like we're comfortable with that.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I mentioned that because I don't know, personally that's I'm kind of getting 2005 vibes in kind of the general census of this one. And funny enough that you mentioned result wise because in that season, America finished third place, but i- only winning 7 games and drawing 9. Only lost 1 game. Funny enough. I don't know if those numbers seem familiar to what I was mentioning earlier,
I thought you were about
right?
to say, and funny enough, we lost to Pachuca.
Who did we lose to that
And
year?
oof, I'd have to go back and check
It's not the
everything
Clásico because I think that's
specifically.
the year we tied
That,
three
that,
three,
that, that
right?
was a
No,
3-3,
no,
no?
that was a 3-0. I'll check. I'll check exactly who we lost to in that game, but it gives you that kind of sense of that same vibe, you know, that
Yeah.
this could be something special. Now, of course, we don't want to get overexcited. We don't want to overextend ourselves in this one, and we don't want to say that we're promising a 14th title come at the end of this season.
I hope so.
But America's in a promising position, right? And for the first time in a while, I kind of don't really care who we get.
I'm
Well,
with you.
Chris put an interesting graphic on in the chat, and those possibilities, I really like them all except for one. I think that one could really give us trouble.
Atlas.
Atlas, right? But other than that, though, if they don't advance, I gladly take any single one of them.
I'm comfortable with Atlas, if I'm being honest with you.
I
I
just think
think
Atlas is I don't know. I mean,
they're sneaky. They're the dark
yeah, they're
horses of the whole thing.
sneaky and they're they find ways to get goals like you don't expect. And if Julian can keep playing the way he's playing, it's it's a little worrisome.
The
I,
reason
I
I'm comfortable with it is because I feel we invaded as a fan base. We invaded that stadium, and it's 2 home games. I don't know if that's how you guys feel, but whenever we're in the Jalisco, it feels like a home game.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
And then Cruz Azul would be like best thing for us because we don't have to travel.
That would be ideal for us, right?
Yeah.
And then we on Cruz Azul, so it's like so like I said though, any other team but Atlas, I think that I'm confident in. I think Atlas and Monterrey are probably the 2 teams that I'm more worried about this whole Liguilla. And the other team you can bring on, and I think that we should be able to handle.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree. I'm still trying to look who we lost to, and if anyone has it right there, please
it's so hard to
let me
find
know.
those games from like those years, huh? Like I told you, I was trying to look for the table when India
I, mean,
was eliminated.
I found like the general consensus, and Wikipedia has kind of a chart. It's a little complicated to read. I'm just like,
It can be that complicated.
What was
it's
it?
complicated.
Clausura or Apertura?
Look, I'm gonna send you guys a link on our group chat, and then you guys can
So for
see
score
whether
only
or not you
comes
guys can
2006.
decipher which team we ended up losing against. But kind of piggybacking off you guys, what you were saying, it's promising all around. The feeling, at least, going forward on this one, and just wait and see whether or not who we get and what we do going forward is going to be important. And well, it's important not to lose rhythm, and we've been doing that for a little bit. So America just had their friendly yesterday against was it Alebrijes?
Yes.
Yeah.
And completely smoked that team, right? 7-0. But you kind of want that. You kind of expect that from a second division team coming to play at your home at the Azteca. But we got to see a couple of good players. We got to see them get a couple minutes. Henry get on the score sheet. I think that was the most important thing. You kind of want to keep him with that rhythm of scoring, and a couple
You know what's
youngsters,
funny?
which I don't think
You
they're
know
gonna
what's
play
funny?
any role in this. But what was funny?
When they put the first half, it was 1-0, and if you go back and read it, it's like everyone complaining, Liguilla starts, and you guys start with your BS. oh, how are we only winning by one, and it's a penalty against the second division, and the second half we score six. So
And
I
I
got
found
it.
that funny.
yeah.
I got it.
All right, Christian. Who did we lose against? To?
We lost away to Monterrey.
Oh, okay.
Ah,
We
that was the
lost
one
four
game we
two.
lost. Okay. All
Four
right.
two.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
I wonder who was on that team.
On the Monterrey team.
Yeah,
Let's see.
like
Well, Chris goes in back in time and gets a time
They
capsule
had
of that
Cristian
season.
Martinez. Anyone good?
Um,
Anyone good?
yeah, it was an interesting.
Perez,
It was
Guille
interesting to see that
Franco.
one.
Oh, he had two. Luis Perez had 2 goals,
Luis Perez, 2 goals. Wow.
and then Piojo had 2 goals for us.
Claudio Piojo Lopez. Because
And
you say Piojo and people think
on the bench
Miguel
from
Herrera.
Monterrey was Oribe Peralta, 21-year-old.
he scored.
No, he was just on the bench.
Oh, okay.
That's crazy to see though.
Crazy indeed.
Oh, and who was the manager?
Piojo.
For
Piojo.
yeah,
Piojo.
Piojo, right?
Yeah,
Wow,
that's
bro.
cool.
Damn.
That's
A lot of
cool.
throwbacks right there.
Go back
A
in
lot
time.
of
Yeah, for real.
look at that.
Oh, one thing I'm gonna add, because we didn't really touch on it. Sendejas came out injured in the game against Juarez. I guess he only played because it's his hometown, and I guess they gave him like, okay, play, but he wasn't 100%, so he ended up pulling a muscle or something like that. Like I don't know what the injury was, but I guess he should be ready for the second leg of the Liguilla.
Mm-hmm.
Second leg. So we have a Leo Suarez for the first leg. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, which I mean we're comfortable with, right? He had a really good season too.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But we'll get you guys ready with everything going on with Liguilla, right? Obviously, the repechaje is going to be going on this weekend, so we'll see whether or not America gets a little bit more of a favorable opponent. But like I said, at this point, you kind of just are willing to go up against anyone, and you kind of have to, right? If you want to be proclaimed as champion. So we'll get you guys up to date. So make sure you guys follow our social media handles at the Eagle Eye Podcast, whether it's Twitter, which is where we usually keep you guys the most informed, Instagram, TikTok, as Chris has been doing a wonderful job there, trying to get you guys up to date with everything TikTok wise. And then we'll get you guys going as to who we're going to be facing. And I'm curious to see what dates we're going to get. Are we going to get the Wednesday games? Or are we going to get the Thursday games?
I hope
Should
we
be
get
interesting.
Thursday.
Isn't it
Sunday
depending
games.
on what Rayados chooses?
Correct.
I don't think teams choose, right? And then it's like we'd end up getting Wednesday or Thursday because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think America would be comfortable with Sundays, so I think we would get the Thursday Sunday game.
Thursday, Sunday.
But we'll see. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But overall, right, we want to categorize this season as an overall okay season. I don't think it's the greatest. I think because of those draws, it weighs down a little bit. A lot of drama going on in between. The whole Malagon, Oscar Jimenez, and the whole Jordan Dam. Does he drop? Does he not? Roger cycle. So some things that kind of weigh the season down a little bit. But overall, I think there's a unity in this team. The locker room has never looked as happy as it does at the moment. And I think these players are playing for something. So we'll have to wait and see what it is exactly that this outcome is going to be. But for the most part, I think that it's looking on the up and up. And hopefully, like Chris mentioned, we get a final and we can go all the way and secure this, right? Because at the end of the day, none of this matters, because if you're not in the final, if you're not lifting that trophy, then we know the standards here at America. It was a bust. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So regular season ends. Now we wait for repechaje. And I think that's kind of it regarding America's regular season. Anything else you guys want to, highlight before we move on?
Just Henry Martin.
Oh yeah, Henry Martin. Of course, kind of the biggest news that we kind of should be talking about is the fact that he gets himself the leading goal scorer. Right? Finally, America has the top league leading goal scorer, 14 goals. Could that be a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the 14th?
Maybe. The last time we had a campeón de goleo, we won the title.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then Chris, we were talking about this, right? Henry Martin with his epic celebrations. He's had himself quite the season, and I would dare to say quite the past couple of seasons. He's actually been growing. I mean, coming out of his shell, a late bloomer, but absolutely the goal scorer that we needed. Um, we kind of were talking about, you know, players coming into this role and maybe not being to the standards, right? Henry's been there for the longest time, and it's barely taken him this long to kind of cement himself, which is the craziest thing to me. I know he's had some injury problems and some lack of rhythm, but I mean, overall, I think there's this kind of vindication and this kind of feeling of like, all right, it was worth the wait for Henry Martin.
I think he had to go through two failed projects, right? Experiments in Roger and Nico Castillo to really get that chance, at least in my opinion, you know? I think if you look at the numbers, he's always been very solid, but it's nice to see him like completely break through, right? Some people would have said, "Oh, last season was a fluke. He comes back this season and gives us another great season," you know. And I think it just boosts up his legacy. And I think finally we could finally say, like, Andy, you could sit with the great strikers that America has ever had, in my opinion.
That's
You guys don't agree with
that's
that?
interesting. I mean, I think Henry still needs to cap off a little bit more, but I would say he's on his way.
I
I
think
I, I think he's on
the
his way.
campeón de goleo gives him that that privilege. Maybe you don't, because there's been other strikers that had less times that are there. You know, in
Mhm.
my opinion, this puts him there, and he's won titles with us and has been key to those seasons too. You know, so for me, I think he joins the table. Now, if you want to rank him, that's a whole different topic, right? But
I think if he performs in Liguilla, we can sit him there. I don't think he's there yet.
okay, fair.
Agreed. Agreed there. But congratulations to Henry Martin getting those 14 goals. I know it was a little bit nerve wracking because he didn't score against Juarez, and then freaking Funes Mori was scoring goals left, right, and center. And you thought, well, it would be such typical Henry Martin fashion for him to lose it in the last jornada again,
He did
like he
lose
did
the
last
top
season.
assister. That's what he did lose.
He did, yeah, he did.
That's the bummer
But it
thing
goes to
about
show that he had such a well-rounded season that he was not only putting numbers in the back of the net, but he was also assisting to continue to continue to grow that goal tally for America. So,
it.
like I said, shout out to Henry Martin. Absolutely amazing. Did you guys see that video of him signing the autograph for the little kids yesterday?
Mhm.
I thought that
You
was
just
nice.
reminded me of the video AJ sent of the eagle snapping at him.
Yeah, the eagle almost took his the eagle almost decapitated Henry Martin before the Liguilla started.
Bruh, that I really, because I don't know if on Twitter for you guys it doesn't show you the video; it just shows like a gray screen. So I clicked it, like assuming it was one of the goals from the friendly. And when I seen that, like he just snapped at him, bro. I was just cracking up for like a fat minute. I was like, "What the hell?" And then you see like everyone was just like shocked that that happened. I don't know, bro.
Yeah,
Little things like that just crack me.
yeah. Celeste was I don't know. I don't know what she was on about, but yeah, almost took a piece of Henry Martin with her back to her cage. Um, but yeah, it's nice to see Henry being kind of valued by the team, by the fans, the way that he has. I think he's like I've mentioned to you guys, Henry's for the people, and I think really the cherry on top for him is the championship. To be honest, so
Mhm.
let's hope he can continue that run of form and when is that championship, right? So
Hopefully, man.
he almost got us to the final last season. So
It's
now I
been
think
five
he's
years,
looking to
man. It's been five
up one
years.
5 years. So let's see what happens. Um, well, I mean that's pretty much all we have in regards to America this regular season and kind of the review in a sense of what's going on. Obviously, there's still the most important part of the season is upon us now, right? The
Mhm.
Liguilla and
Esperamos rival.
yeah, esperamos rival. So we'll see what happens. Good to
Well,
see that
so
America
to
gets.
end it, who do you
Mhm.
guys prefer out of the teams are that they could beat?
Well, look, let's just kind of read off the possibilities, right? And then we can go off of that. So our possible rivals are either Tigres, Cruz Azul, Atlas, Puebla, and San Luis. And if we're kind of saying a repeat of what we've been doing, I would say Puebla.
Yeah, but I think Pueblo will be the more favorable one. They play Tigres, right? Tigres is in really bad form right now, like really bad form. Maybe
I want Cruz
possibility.
Azul. That's what I want.
All right, Chris wants Cruz Azul. I
I
want
want Cruz
Puebla. Who
Azul.
do you want,
And
Chris? Christian.
I'll probably take Puebla or Tigres, either or. We'll
Either
see.
or.
I'll see Cruz Azul maybe in semis.
Oh,
We could get
now,
Chivas in
now,
semis.
now you're 100% giving me 05 vibes.
Nah, Chivas will make it past the first round.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't
Set
see it.
in stone. All right. Well, that's kind of what we got. We'll give you guys more news and more up to date as we have our rival. So we'll be back on Monday. We'll talk and we'll get you guys ready for our soon to be announced rival after Sunday's matches, and I guess we'll go from there. Anything else you gentlemen want to talk about before we kind of wrap it up here?
Nope.
No, I'm just looking forward to finally, hopefully, lifting the 14. I think we're in for a special month, boys.
We're in for a special month. We're overdue, and I'm excited. I'm nervous, and at the same time I'm just
What day? What day is the
scared
final
for
play
the
this year?
June. Is it June or
What?
May?
Really?
Hold on. All right, bro. Chris gets that going, and he gives us that information. One thing I just kind of want to talk about. We kind of talked about it in regards to this Club America movie that came out. It just came out yesterday on VIX Plus. It's called Quiero tu vida. Had the luxury of being able to sit and watch it for almost 2 hours. And I'm not gonna give you guys any spoilers or anything. You guys are more than welcome to go watch the movie. I'm just gonna kind of give you guys my ultimate rating here. As a movie, I'm giving it like a maybe a 3 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
2.8 is where I'm going. As far as the Americanista part of it all, and maybe the throwbacks and how much America is included, I'd give it maybe a 3.5. I think they could have done much better with America and all that stuff.
Right.
Kind of fades in the background towards the end of the movie. I'm not gonna give anything away. I just feel like there could have been bigger names. There could have been more kind of cameos. They could have really leaned on this whole America thing.
Who
They didn't
produced it
really.
again? You told us.
Salma Hayek. Salma
Okay.
Hayek's the producer in this one.
So
Um,
is the acting like La Rosa de Guadalupe?
no, I'll give them to them. The acting is much better than what I was expecting, so I'll give them that. Um, but go
Okay.
ahead, you guys go check it out. I think Chris ultimately, it's a movie that you can definitely play in the background, not really have to pay too much attention to kind of figure out what's going on.
My favorite type of movies.
Exactly.
Where you don't pay attention.
Oopsie.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, it's all right. Cameo appearances as far as America Legends go, not so many. Two, just about two. Um, I don't know if you guys want to know who they are. Any spoiler alerts that you guys want to give me? But there's
Well, we
only two
said
that really come
Cuauhtemoc,
out.
right? Because he was there at the
No, he's not
stadium
in
a
it.
lot. He's
He's
not.
not.
There
He
was
was
no
not.
point of him.
Yeah. So he's not. He's not in the movie. But
He's gonna take over as president of America.
as president of America, I'd be so happy with that. That'd be a great move by America. But yeah, go check it out, guys. Quiero tu vida now out on VIX. So if you guys get a chance to, just caution to the wind. It's not the best movie in the world. Some of you guys may disagree with me. Some of you guys may enjoy it. But at the end of the day, the basis of it and the foundation of it is it's a romantic comedy. So
Mhm.
just kind of
Rom
putting
com.
that out there. Rom-com. So if you guys are up for that, you guys enjoy that, by all means. I know that's Dylan's favorite genre. So
Mhm.
we'll see what his takeaway is on this one. But yeah, you guys can go check it out and see what happens. Chris, do we have a date for the final?
Yeah, the final would be played on May 25th. Would be the first leg, and then the second leg on May 28th.
May 28th. So literally the last weekend of May.
Literally, I only asked the question because when we beat Cruz Azul in 2013, it was on May 26th. I thought it was the same day.
Wow.
Just
Now you're
yeah,
trying to give me 2013 vibes. The vibes are just everywhere in this one for America.
Which is what we want, right? We want the vibe.
Yeah.
So
we
could-
want the vibes. Yeah, we do.
Absolutely. And maybe Henry Martin can finally celebrate like Chucho Benitez like everyone wanted
Yeah,
to. But
yeah,
unfortunately
yeah.
couldn't do it at Juarez because there's nowhere to celebrate it on.
I want that Benitez Voso celebration. That's what I want.
That's what I want to. Yeah. For those of you who don't know what it is, we'll tweet it out and then
Look,
we'll
I
tweet it
have
on Twitter
this.
tomorrow morning.
I have this, right? And
Yeah.
I bought it specifically, and I told myself that I wouldn't wear it until America was in the final again. I bought this in 2020. It's been 3 years. It's just been sitting here for 3 years.
You didn't wear it for the Monterrey final against in the Champions League?
After that final. 22, I'm back. So I've had it for a year and was it 21?
Well, good thing you haven't gotten chubby, bro.
21.
21? No, I bought it right after the 21. I bought it like on the day after
The CONCACAF Champions League final.
No.
Yeah.
When did I buy this? I gotta look it up. Just point this. It's been sitting here for a while, and I really want to wear it. So let's get to a final this year, no?
You should hang it up behind you.
Absolutely.
Should I? Wait, hold on.
Yeah, and then when it's game day on the final at the Azteca, you just take it off and then just put it on.
But that was you're right. That was the Champions League final though in October.
Look, brother,
Yes.
we can't help you when you bought it.
Yeah.
We don't know.
No, I know that, but I don't remember it being that early though. I think I bought it in December.
What is it? It's a poncho?
Uh-huh.
That's nice. I like it.
Thank you.
Looks warm. Looks like it was bought for the right type of weather.
I've been
Mhm.
getting the swap meet trying to buy it, but then I'm just like, man, but like America doesn't come in the winter. I
December
can't even
21.
go
It's
to the
been 2
game.
years. 2-ish years, yeah, 2-ish years, or a year and a half. Year and a half. We'll go with that.
Point is it's overdue. Let's get ourselves to the final, and then we'll kind of go from
Please.
there, and then we can discuss fashion attire for a final. I'd love to hear
Yes.
what you guys have in your closets waiting for an America final. But all right, I think we stretched this long enough. Let's wrap it up here. Let's give the people the chance to go home, rest, and finally not listen to our voices that much longer. Well, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone that's been kind of following us. I know we kind of came back a little bit late in the season, but it's good to be back. It's good to be talking all things Club America, and I just want to say thank you again to my two beloved co-hosts here, Christian and Chris, for making it out tonight.
Of course, brother. Tune in Saturday to watch my other team win the Copa del Rey and get the May started off right. All right, let's get a bunch of titles in this month.
I like
Lakers
it.
in 5.
Lakers in 5. So Dylan, if you heard that, Lakers in 5. Dylan's actually a huge Golden State Warrior fan. So if anyone doesn't know that, there's a little Cowboy Dan trivia.
Cowboy game trivia.
But all right then. Well, I just want to say thank you to all of you guys again, to whoever who is listening on whether it is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever it is that you guys may listen to us. Thank you again for all your support. It means the world to us, and we'll be back next week to talk all things Club America in English. Until then, take care, and as always, arriba America. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club America in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast where